Hi, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Risk, where our goal is to connect, engage, and inspire each other and build a global community of risk practitioners. I'm your host, Naveen Agarwal, and today I'm super excited to welcome my guest, Eckhard Jokisch. He's based in Ireland, but right now traveling to Germany for work. So we're going to have a European perspective on topics related to medical devices. So this is a great opportunity to hear from an industry leader. Eckhard is a lead auditor for ISO 13485 and ISO 9001 with many years of experience. And recently he shared some thoughts on LinkedIn about using an AI-based virtual auditor. So I can't wait to talk to him about that and learn from his experience. So with that, Eckhard, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks, Noah. I'm doing great today. First of all, I'm not traveling for work through Germany. I'm German and I'm visiting my children, and I'm
Okay.
more or less here for holidays and taking a longer break right now.
Oh, great, great.
Because
Thank you for taking the time out.
the last year was somehow quite exhausting for me, but also a lot of fun. Actually, mainly because I had the opportunity to use the AI auditor you mentioned to perform a very intensive ISO
Mhm.
13485 audit. And as you said, a perspective from a European auditor, I'm maybe one of the Germans, how should I say, most German people around in that area, and I really like to do audits and to have fun with
Mhm.
people who are my auditors, because it's the most important thing which I learned, that people have a lot of fun during their work. Otherwise it gets stressful and meaningless after a short period of time,
Yes.
because also
Yes.
people need to trust me as an auditor for a good deal, because if they don't trust me, they
Yes.
will not tell the truth. And this is one of the main things that are really risky for companies, that people are not telling the truth and are afraid of getting punished for having things not arranged properly or so.
Yeah.
Um, and in former years, I started as a requirements engineer, which is not a big difference, a requirements engineer in the software industry, because we are talking about requirements from the regulatory world and from the normative world. These are all requirements. And a couple of years ago, I took the time to analyze ISO 13485 for from the perspective of a requirements engineer, and was somehow puzzled.
Mhm.
Like, we have 28 pages with
Yeah.
some meaningful content, and counting the requirements, the true atomic requirements that are in there, we are over 1,500 requirements that every company has to address somehow.
Mhm.
Not all are relevant for all companies, but you have to address them. When I come into a company as an auditor and take my list of these audit points, I sometimes see that people just answer, no, we don't need that. And
Yeah.
then I ask why, and they say, yeah, because we don't have sterile products. And then, yeah, but where do you have documented decisions about that? Oh, we haven't, we just know it.
Yes, that's the problem. So, you mentioned a very critical point early on. You said that as an auditor, you have to build trust with the auditees.
Yeah.
Eckhart, can you share some of the techniques you have used to build that trust? And I'm sure there isn't a whole lot of time. You're already busy when trying to do an audit. So, how do you go about building trust? Can you share with your experience?
The one thing that I just learned last year is, one very important thing is to be somehow silent and listen and breathe, and let the auditees also have time to breathe. So there's no point in getting through an audit with holding your breath and not taking any air inside.
Hmm.
And one thing I very early, when I was working as a software engineer, learned was, we had to do a review of a big piece of software, and I knew if we go through every line, we will take something like 2 or 3 days for just one module. And the other developer was a friend of mine, and I told him, listen, I have one idea. You know the software better than I.
Hmm.
If there's any fault or any flaw in the software, the probability that you put it in there is very high. And he agreed. And then I said, I think you know exactly where these weak points are. And just tell me a number, how many are there? And he just told a number. And then I asked, so as you told me the number, where are they? And it was a spot on thing. We immediately found some flaws and were able to resolve them. And then we went through the review very fast. And this is also how I like to start in audits. When I talk to quality managers or audited person, most afraid are the employees other than the quality manager. When I audit them, they are afraid of telling something wrong. I ask them during your daily life in the company, where do you feel unsafe? Where do you feel insecure? And let's look into the documents. What do they say? Oh, they didn't tell you about this. Okay, then we need to address that. And this is some kind of building a humanity-based relationship between auditees and any auditor.
That is such an excellent point. You know, at the end of the day, these are people, these are human beings, and your point about building a relationship and making them feel comfortable in that audit environment actually is good for everybody. So that's a great point, Eckhard. I was very curious. I know you have many years of experience doing audits under ISO 13485. And there is a big element of risk management across 13485, at least in the newer version. Can you share your experience? Any examples that you came across where you observed something related to risk management within the 13485 requirements?
One thing I often see is that people not really document the risks. They see it more like, yes, we have ISO 14971 and we follow up. We have our lists and we have some risks, yes, but most of the risks are not addressed appropriately, and procedures for mitigating special risks do not come in very often. The biggest surprise that you can encounter in your business or with your device, what would be the biggest surprise? And like software code errors or broken wires not very often come into the risk analysis. People most of the time think about, because they built an excellent product, they developed an excellent product, they're happy with that product, they're proud of that product, and all their thoughts go into the direction of the excellence of their product. And this somehow shifts their focus away from the questions, how many possibilities are there to kill a patient with my device?
Yeah,
And
or
how do
cause
I handle
or
these risks?
Yeah, or cause harm. So I think you're making a great point that, and this is what I have seen also, that there's a disconnect between doing FMEA type of analysis, failure mode type of analysis, and fixing it, and connecting it to hazards and harms. I know that disconnect exists, and I'm glad that you're identifying it. So we do have a comment here from one of our attendees. Raymond is sharing that what I have found is that folks are uncertain as to the standard they are being audited against. It seems to be a mystery, which it really should not be. Have you come across this in your practice, that people are not very sure about the standard that they should be following or they are being audited against?
Not that much, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Or maybe they are not
Because
fully aware, right? Maybe they are missing a few here and there.
yeah, missing a few standards is not the problem. Missing parts in the standards is more a problem. But
Ah,
when I start auditing companies, I always start with chapter 5. This is also my in chapter 5 we have the top management responsibilities.
got you.
And most of the time an audit fails in chapter 5 already.
Interesting.
The first go, and then the management has to do homework, has to train the people and so on, and then people get aware about what they need to care about. Because at least in the business I know, it's like we have to run. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that later, not now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do a risk analysis. Yeah, someone will do it, but yeah, let's talk in the next meeting about who and when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
We
no,
just want
not the
to
next meeting, because next meeting we have different topics.
We are just
Um,
kicking the can down the road. So, Eckhard, I want to jump into our main topic today, which I'm personally
yeah,
very fascinated about. Your LinkedIn article about your experience with an AI-based virtual auditor. So, tell us a little bit more about, set the stage for us. Tell us a little bit more about this audit and what prompted you to use an AI-based virtual auditor?
To start with the last question, what prompted me to use it was that the company who has developed and built the auditor, a friend of mine, and they asked me to try it and to use it. I love to do it, of course, and the thing is, as a lead auditor, you need to orchestrate your auditors around the company and about the audit. And this workload can just be delegated. Every auditor has his questions, and so the AI auditor has also his questions, and the auditees have to answer the questions. And what fascinates me about the AI-based auditor that it is strict on the one hand and very complete on the other hand. For an AI-based auditor, it's much easier to cope with thousands of requirements and to ask thousands of questions without getting tired than a human auditor. I know from my own experience as auditor, as auditing things, I really get tired after a while.
Yes.
And then I say, oh, no, I don't like this discussion again and again. And yeah, let's just, okay, it's somehow okay, but
Yeah.
not really. Maybe next time they have fixed it and so on. As a human
So,
auditor, you have that, but as
sure.
an AI-based auditor, no chance.
Yeah. So in this case, Eckhard, I'm trying to understand how the setup was. First question is, did you have to clear it with your auditee that it would be acceptable to them that an AI-based or auditor was being used?
Of course, I have had to tell them and invite them, and they agreed to do that. They were also very curious about it.
So
And they,
now the AI-based virtual auditor, is it analyzing or processing all the information in the background and then presenting a question or a request to you, which you communicate with the auditee, or is it also an entity present very visibly in the audit? Like how I'm very curious, how is the system set up and how it works?
it's like a bit like a chatbot, and you ask questions, you answer the questions, and the chatbot says, no, that's not something I would accept. I am missing this and that. Of course, it would be an easy task, and I already have seen that implemented, that this AI bot also presents you with some solution for that problem, but that wouldn't be an auditor anymore because an auditor cannot audit his own
Yes.
work. But that's all possible. And by asking these questions and receiving the answers, evaluating the answers, this AI bot can evaluate if the person on the other end is competent enough to answer the question, if there is documented evidence for the answer. And that's the process. The one thing that the people like about this is that they can do it at their own speed. There's no pressure to be in the meeting for 2 hours and to have answers ready or not. But the main focus is to get this audit done, and you can take your time maybe for a week of an hour or an hour each day,
see.
like you want in your speed.
Got you.
The
So the
AI auditor
auditor,
is very patient.
yeah, I got you. So as a lead auditor, then you are communicating with the chatbot, and is that conversation also visible to the auditee?
No, that's not visible. As a lead auditor, I look into the evaluation of the answers, and if there are any doubts, I can clarify that with the auditees. But the direct communication between the virtual auditor and me is not visible to the auditees.
Okay, but they do know that you are using a AI based.
Yes,
Okay, perfect. So there's
definitely.
transparency because trust is very important. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you are using the AI based virtual auditor as an assistant to you and not necessarily to conduct the audit. Is that my right understanding?
For the moment, yes. I
I
know
got you.
that the plan is to have from the company, they plan to be a certification authority during this or next year, so they can fully automate ISO 9001 and ISO 13485
Okay. So
certifications. But for
great.
me, it's an assistant.
Great. So, Eckhard, we already have a question from Raghav here. Would you be able to share some more information on this specific AI auditor tool? And if you have any links or any information that you want to share, I can post them in the show notes. But people are interested to give it a try. Can you share some more information about what this tool is?
Yes, the company is called GenieCert, and on the website there should, I'm actually not aware if their website is up to date because they are so busy with developing.
No problem.
there should be a link to register, but anyone can just send me a personal message on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will invite for a presentation or a demo or something like that.
Perfect. We
Demo
can share
account.
this information in the show notes
Yeah.
also. So fascinating conversation. Now, Eckhard, in your LinkedIn article about this AI-based virtual auditor, you shared that you were able to find 23 major findings that were never detected before by human auditors. So there is quite a large number. On one hand, I think it's good it's that we are able to uncover so much, but on the other hand, it's kind of concerning that we have so much stuff to then take care of after the audit. How do you balance these two competing sort of concerns or feelings about an audit?
Yeah, in the first moment when you see the number, you get frightened, of course.
Correct.
On the other hand, if you see it in the relation to 1,500 requirements, 23 defects is not that much. It's handleable. And the one thing that I wrote in my last article about the fish rots from the head, ISO 13485, I have given an example of one sentence in chapter 741 where one sentence is so packed with requirements, it's nearly impossible for a human to decompose them into proper requirements and to address them appropriately. So if you have established and maintained something, and you think, I established it so it is maintained, then it's somehow reasonable. But if I ask as an auditor, so show me where you did some maintenance work to that established procedure, and there's nothing, then it's not a good starting point for fulfilling these requirements. And also for the senior quality management and the top management in that company, it was not so nice to see that what they thought would be a good quality management system, that it would fail. It was not a certification audit, it was an internal audit, but in a certification audit, it would just have failed. And when people get frightened because of, or they see, oh, I have so much to do, then they get frightened.
Yes,
Because they are not sitting around and doing nothing all the time. They are all
correct.
full up with work.
But I think this brings up a very good point that we should be aware of and plan. When we begin to look more with advanced, sophisticated tools, we're going to find more. And I think we have to prepare our teams and our organizations to expect that and not say that, hey, it doesn't mean that our system is really bad. It just means that we are looking a little bit more carefully and it's going to help us get better. We have to do a lot of prep work in terms of change management and helping people understand that, yes, we're going to find a lot more because now we are looking with advanced tools. Is that a good way of approaching this?
Yeah, but it's not only finding more, it's also about workload distribution. Because if, for example, if you have to document a procedure, there is maybe a person in the company who is really good in documenting a procedure, and maintaining that procedure is a different story. And maybe there's a different person who is better in maintaining this procedure. Just as an example, there are many more. If you look that detailed, you have the opportunity to distribute the workload to people who are really good in these specific areas. There are, of course, some points where you don't need to have a PhD and to write something.
Yes. So I think these tools can help us improve our efficiency and productivity, but also help us find more issues that might be hidden and we may not uncover just by visual examination. So, but the point still remains that this is so new that it can create a lot of concern, anxiety, and fear. And I think your experience is also similar. So help us understand what helped you get to the next level and begin to trust this system and begin to actually feel like this could be a good tool and good synergy for us. How did you overcome that mental barrier in your own mind?
Well, the mental barrier in my own mind, first, didn't trust. I never trust automation. I learned software development on a binary level, like a processing language assembler. And then I had a small computer, a Sinclair ZX81, and that thing used BASIC as a programming language. And I didn't trust BASIC. I did want to know, what does that do inside? Does it really do the right thing? And from that, I learned that in the first moment, I do not trust. I do not trust AI. And does it really work well enough for my very high ambition? But the more I worked with that, the more I trusted it somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a matter of, personally, it's a matter of experience, daring the experience and not sticking to old habits like managing documents and Excel
Yeah,
sheets.
yeah, yeah. I understand. Well, every new technology, we have to spend some time with it and get familiar with it. But when it comes to AI, there are so many questions, so many unanswered issues that we have to be very careful about how we deploy it. So when it
Mm.
comes to auditing, it's even more important. And Rajesh here is sharing a comment that maybe this tool can be used by companies first internally for regular compliance checks and then fix
Yes,
the
of
issues
course.
more frequently and get familiar with them, right? So not try one step at a time. Okay, perfect. So Eckhard, I know we are coming close to the end of our 30 minutes, and I do believe Ed Bills had something to share about the ISO TC 219 Joint Working Group 1 meeting. So Ed, if you could post a comment in the chat about the announcement, I will be happy to share that with everybody here. But Eckhard, I want to give you a couple of minutes to just share with us one or two key takeaways from our conversation today. In the meantime, I'll share some announcements with our colleagues here. Guys, those of you who are joining us for the first time, and I see many first time attendees here, first of all, welcome to all of you. We do this every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So you're welcome to join these conversations. They are very casual, very informal, and we talk about a variety of topics. As you can see today, we're talking about use of AI tools for auditing. So there's very casual, informal conversation. Just show up. And if you like these, block your calendar for 11 a.m. Eastern. Every week, I post the announcement for the following week on my LinkedIn feed. So keep an eye on that and you'll get to know what is coming up next. And actually, next week, we are going to be having a fascinating conversation about mentoring and coaching and what role it plays in your career advancement. My guest, Angelina Lisandrelli, is a leader in the regulatory space, and we're going to have a great time to have this conversation with her. So please show up at 11 a.m. Eastern next week. Looks like we do have a question here with from Dr. Anita Joshi. Eckhart, maybe I give you an opportunity to answer this.
Yep.
She's asking, can the tool also give solutions? So not only find some compliance issues, but also propose solutions. I know that's not part of the audit, but is that AI tool able to offer some solutions?
Definitely.
So
That's what I can say. It's able to do so during an audit. This is not enabled because, like I said before, and in theory, it would be possible to have the AI help you setting up your whole QMS. But
So
that depends a lot of how you set up your
yeah.
what do you use for QMS.
So I think that I think it will be a great tool to deploy for internal auditing because there the goal is to improve. But in a very formal auditing environment, we cannot mix consulting and solution finding with auditing,
Mm.
right? I think that might be some challenges, but in principle, you are right. It can be done. So, guys, I know we are almost out of time. So, I love this conversation with you. I love your engagement and your participation. You're welcome to join these sessions every week. With that, Eckhard, I want to invite you to share just two or three key takeaway points from our conversation today.
Yeah. So one thing is that these AI tools are really good at the moment for internal audits and maybe for supplier audits as well. That could be a benefit. The other thing is that I will think again about writing an article from my perspective about the difference between hazards and harms and FMEA, because this also pops up very, very often that this is not understood correctly and people think they have done an FMEA and then they have the hazards and harms analysis done. And the most important part is always this conversation reminds me on again and again on that I'm working with humans, with people, and that my task is not to give them more pain, but to help them to have their work appreciated and also to improve their work. And
Yes.
also for the top management to tell them again and again, if the people work for you, they spend your money and you invest in them and they do not do faults to harm you. Every fault or every flaw is an investment
Yes.
in an
Yes. Wonderful.
opportunity. If you detect it, if not, okay.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Eckhart. Thank you for sharing. Now, Ed has posted an announcement, and I'll read that for everybody. So 14971 2019 preliminary vote was overwhelmingly to reaffirm the standard. It was supposed to be voted on today for the final decision, but the numbers were so great that the standard would not be revised at this time. So it's kind of good news. Thank you, Ed, for sharing that. Also, additional guidance in ISO TR 24971 will be developed for machine learning is continuing and should be completed this year. Work is underway on benefit risk guidance for 24971.3, and a vote is underway for adding combination products guidance to 24971 as well. So this is wonderful news for us. The standard is not going to be changed, but we're going to have more guidance, which is always great news. Guys, do you see the benefit of our conversations here? We have people like Ed who have been joining week after week and sharing these insights and updates. We get to learn about them first. So thank you, Ed, for sharing this. I hope you guys are excited about all this new guidance that will come out from the ISO committee. For me, I can't wait to see that. This will be great for our industry. So, guys, I know we have already run out of time. I really appreciate you attending today. Thank you for joining once again. Thank you, Eckhard, for sharing your perspective, your key points about, understanding that, hey, we are working with people and understanding that AI is a tool, building trust in it, and helping people understand that as well, so that we can all begin to use it for the best purpose, right? For its most effective use. So I can't really thank you enough for sharing these thoughts, Eckhard. I wish you all the best.
It was a big pleasure for me.
Sure, you're welcome. I wish you all the best in your work, and I hope to stay connected with you. And guys, this is also another purpose of our conversations, is to build connections. So make sure you are connecting with each other, reaching out to everyone, and continuing these conversations. Thank you so much again, Eckhard. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.